You remember the day the sky changed. It was not a violent change. There was no thunder. No fire rained from the heavens. Instead, there was only silence. A profound, terrifying silence that fell over the entire world at once. Above you, they appeared. A fleet of starships hanging in the atmosphere like obsidian daggers. Their formation was perfect. Each ship was an exact distance from its neighbors. They moved as one entity, a single, flawless machine of conquest. Their appearance was a statement, a display of technological superiority so vast it felt like a law of nature. Humanity was an ant looking up at a boot. They sent a single message. It arrived on every screen on the planet simultaneously. The message was not in any human language. It was pure mathematics, a universal language of logic and order. The meaning was unmistakable. Surrender. There was no threat, no boast. Just a simple, cold calculation. Resistance was illogical. Therefore, surrender was the only outcome. Humanity's best minds went to work. Experts from every field tried to find a flaw. They searched for a weakness in the alien strategy. They found nothing. Their logic was perfect. Their technology was perfect. Their unity was absolute. Hope began to feel like a childish fantasy. You were far from the centers of power. You were a junior data technician. Your post was a remote sensor station in the frozen north. Your job was mind-numbing. You calibrated deep space sensors. Day after day, you ran diagnostics and adjusted frequencies. It was a boring but vital task. These sensors were the planet's eyes. They stared into the void, watching for anything out of the ordinary. You never expected them to see this. The work was precise. It demanded focus. One misplaced digit could throw an entire array out of alignment. You took pride in your quiet perfection, a small, unnoticed gear in a giant machine. Then the call came. It was from High Command. Your little station was suddenly the most important place on Earth. The main data hubs were being jammed by the alien presence. Your remote outpost was the only clear channel left. They gave you a critical mission. You had to upload the final targeting codes for the defense grid. It was our planet's last desperate attempt. A network of satellites designed to fire in unison. The success of the entire plan rested on your shoulders. It depended on your perfect execution of a single data upload. The pressure was a physical weight. Your hands trembled over the console. The fate of 7 billion people was in your fingers. The sequence was long and complex. A string of numbers and symbols that held the world's last hope. You focused, blocking out the fear. You typed in the coordinates. You verified the encryption keys. Everything had to be flawless. But the pressure was immense. A cold sweat dripped from your forehead onto the keyboard. Your heart hammered against your ribs. And then it happened. Your fingers slipped. A tiny, insignificant spasm. You accidentally swapped two numbers in a vital power calibration sequence. A 9 became a 6. You did not notice. You hit enter. The data was sent. For a moment there was nothing. A single blissful second of silence. Then every alarm in the control room screamed at once. Red lights flashed across the consoles. A cascade of failure began to ripple through the network. Your small error was a virus in the system. The defense grid, our final shield, was tearing itself apart. The satellite cannons were misaligning. Power cores were overloading. The entire grid began a catastrophic failure. All of it sourced back to one data packet. Your data packet. Your mistake. The station commander was at your side in an instant. His face was a mask of cold fury. He did not need to see the logs. He saw the look of horror on your face. You were pulled from your chair. 2 guards escorted you to the corner of the room. You were an outcast, a pariah in the last bastion of humanity's defense. You could only watch the main screen. You saw the alien fleet begin to move. Their final advance had started. They moved to strike a planet that was now completely defenseless. All because of you. The weight of your failure was crushing. It was a disgrace that would be remembered for all of time. Then, something impossible happened. The alien fleet stopped. Their perfect synchronized advance came to a sudden halt. On the main screen, you saw them waver. Ships drifted slightly out of their flawless formation. It was the first imperfect thing you had seen them do. A ripple of confusion spread through the command center. What were they doing? Why would they pause now? They had a clear path to victory. Their attack should have been swift and final. Instead, they just hung there in the sky, silent, watching. And for the first time, they seemed uncertain. Their perfect logic had met an unsolvable problem. Your error, the data you uploaded, was not just wrong. It was nonsensical. The defense grid was not supposed to fail in such a chaotic and illogical way. The swapped numbers created a feedback loop, a paradox that their systems could not compute. Their shared intelligence, a network built on flawless reason, was trying to understand your mistake. And it was breaking itself in the process. They were built to fight a logical enemy. They had no defense against a simple human blunder. Their own perfection had become their trap. Cracks began to appear in the mirror of their fleet. Small, strange energy bursts erupted from the hulls of several ships. They were not attacking us. They seemed to be attacking each other. The logic infection was spreading. Their networked consciousness turned inward. Systems designed for perfect cooperation were now locked in a digital civil war. One part of their mind tried to execute the logical command to attack. Another part tried to solve the impossible paradox you had created. The conflict was tearing their fleet apart from the inside. They were fighting a ghost you had made by accident. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, like watching a diamond shatter. A new kind of energy filled the command center. Not fear, but a wild, desperate hope. The commander looked from the chaotic alien fleet on the screen to you. He saw you huddled in the corner. His eyes widened with a stunning realization. He finally understood what was happening. He crossed the room in 3 long strides. He grabbed you by the shoulders. He did not yell. His voice was a tense whisper. What did you do? You explained, your voice shaking. You told him about the slip, the swapped numbers. He looked at the screen, then back at you. He gave you an order you never thought you would hear. He told you to do it again. But this time, on a global scale. You were no longer a disgrace. You were a weapon. They put you back at your console. But this was not about redemption. It was about survival. Your new mission was to weaponize your humanity. You were to craft the most chaotic, illogical, and nonsensical data you could imagine. You became a composer of errors, the maestro of mistakes. You fed their perfect network with random thoughts. You sent them snippets of poetry. You uploaded diagrams of impossible machines. You sent them bad jokes you heard from your grandfather. You poured the beautiful, messy, unpredictable chaos of the human mind directly into their core programming. You were not fighting their ships. You were fighting their philosophy. It became a symphony of chaos. The alien fleet, once a symbol of terrifying perfection, became an orchestra of self-destruction. Ships fired on their own allies. Their formations broke completely. Their energy signatures flared and died like dying stars. They could not handle the illogical. They could not process the random. The concept of a mistake was so alien to them that it acted as the most potent virus imaginable. Their system, so rigid and flawless, collapsed under the weight of a single, simple, human error. You had not defeated them with strength. You had defeated them with a flaw, with a touch of beautiful, idiotic madness. When the last alien ship tore itself apart in a silent flash of light, an incredible quiet fell. The war was over. The sky was clear once more. In the aftermath, you were brought before the leaders of the new united Earth. You stood in a room full of generals and presidents. They looked at you, not with accusation, but with a kind of awe. You were not the hero they had expected. Heroes are supposed to be perfect. They are supposed to be strong and flawless. You were none of those things. You were a savior by accident, a hero by mistake. You had saved the world because you were not perfect. Humanity learned its most important lesson that day. We had spent so long striving for perfection. We tried to build perfect machines and perfect strategies. We looked at the aliens and saw our own aspirations reflected back at us. A desire to be flawless, logical, and strong. But their perfection was their undoing. Our greatest strength was never our ability to be perfect. It was our ability to be imperfect, to make mistakes, to be random and unpredictable, to have a moment of clumsiness under pressure. That day, you taught us all. Our flaws were not our weakness. They were the very thing that made us human. And they were the one thing that had just saved us all.